Well, hello everybody. It didn't really work out as planned actually. I had made a bit of a video explaining what I was going to do before this, but I think I'm going to just leave that off the channel. My intention today was I wanted to make some videos because I haven't done anything in a while. And I'd done a big cleanup of all my parts and seeing what I had laying around. I cleaned up all my shelves, all that kind of stuff. I went through, I had some parts laying around, so I was able to put together like a bulldozer, have it almost ready to run. I also had a little soil compactor that I had sitting on my shelf for like almost a year, I think. And I finally sold that off as well, and just took some of the money to kind of reinvest into some other things that were broken that needed to be fixed, like my 963 track loader. The actuator finally went in that for the bucket, so I replaced that, and that's upstairs working great, which is I'm happy about. And the reason you're staring at this was because, well, I had every intention on doing a video today showing how to run different models off of one transmitter. And I had a spare transmitter, or sorry, a spare receiver, which is right here, which I bound last night to that transmitter, and it worked fine. So I thought, great, today I'll make a video, do a couple things to showcase what I've been doing. But if you're wondering what that says, it says channel 1 is fucked. I took it apart to see if there's anything that looked obvious about it, and there wasn't. So I've had some issues with this a while back. I actually got this with another receiver just kind of before COVID hit, and at that point I knew there was an issue with the channel 1 on it. I had contacted the guy I bought it off of, and to their advantage, not to mine, just because of how weird things were and uncertain everything was. I had made attempts to get that rectified and get a new one sent out, and it never ended up happening, and so I lost out on that one. They got my money and I never got my receiver fixed. So I'm sitting here with this one that does work, but channel 1 doesn't, and channel 1 is what I usually do my all my turning with on my models. I always run it so that I have like this will be dry forwards, backwards, and then turn is always this way. So that's kind of a bit of a disappointment for me because I need that function to operate my models, and I can't do it with this one. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and either I'm gonna hang on to this, and I don't know if there's something I can use in the future for it. Maybe, but maybe not realistically, and it's not really in the way at the moment, sitting in the box upstairs with the transmitter. So I'm just going to leave it up there for now, and I might just end up purchasing another receiver online, and then at that point, then I'll do my video again, because I put my mixes in for the track or the loader into here. This transmitter right now is running my AUSA dumper, and the functions for the AUSA dumper and this are exactly the same. So I thought it'd be a nice way to kind of get into starting to utilize the controllers a bit better than just trying to have a transmitter receiver for every model, because things are getting so expensive that I cannot afford to do that at all anymore. So that is an off to the side for now thing, unfortunately. So that's okay. Things happen. Anyways, so that's that. So yeah, I got a couple of things I was going to put on my channel today, just because I haven't done anything in a while. I was very, very sick there for quite some time. Over the last 3 weeks, I got COVID, which wasn't really that bad, honestly. I still had it. And then after that, I ended up getting Norwalk virus, and that is just violent and nasty all around. So I think I'll spare the details on that. It's taken me quite some time to kind of get myself standing upright again and able to do some things. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of go through and showcase just some things I did in the meantime since then, so you can see what's going on, where I'm at with things, because I haven't done anything on my channel in quite some time, and I thought it'd just be nice to put something up because I haven't done anything in a while. So I'm going to edit or end this one here, and then the next video I'll show another build I just have pretty much completed, and then I'll show another one that's my future project that I'm going to be working on after this. So yeah, the 906 is fully functioning and running fine. I just need to get a receiver for it, and what I'm seeing online is around about 30. Price, everything's so fucking expensive. Pricey, like 30 to 40 bucks just for a receiver, and that's Amazon. Amazon always does that to you. So anyways, yeah, I gotta figure that out, get one of those, get it into here, try and get it set up so I'm running a couple of models off of one transmitter, and it'll save me money and get more of my models functioning as I want them to. So okay, next one's coming up. Well, here is build number 2. I suppose I could almost call this "What's on my bench." So yeah, this is a Mac 6x6 conversion that I've been able to put together with pieces that I've had laying around from when I ordered a whole bunch of stuff. Like I said before, I did a huge cleanup on my shop. Yeah, I went through like everything, and I just thought, I should see what I can actually put together with what I have, because again, stuff's getting pretty pricey. So I figured, well, let's see what I got. So I had these 4 12-volt 200 RPM motors that have been kicking around for quite some time, that I was going to actually use at one point. I was going to build a powered truck pup to tow behind my red Mac, and obviously now I haven't, because I've done this instead. I did go ahead and order actually some 200 RPM 130 130 or 180, can't remember now. I think they're 130s, 130 motors, I believe. These ones. So I got a couple of those up front. I did my red Mac 6x6, and I wanted to do another one because I was cleaning up all the kids' mess one day downstairs in the living room, and then I pulled this this whole chassis with wheels on out of the box and tacked, and my kids, they like to chew stuff up and spit it out, and then whatever is left, if the dog doesn't get it. So I thought, geez, I can actually probably do something fun with that. I better get it out of there before it gets destroyed anymore. There's no cab on it. It was completely just gone. The trailer hitch I actually had upstairs from another truck that I had done, and then I put a box on that and the trailer hitch. So I thought, well, maybe I can get a 6x6 Mac going and with a trailer, and I can haul the trailer behind it, and that'd be kind of fun, because I have 2 dump trucks, or I have 3 dump trucks upstairs now. I got the white short middle Mac I got the man truck, and then I got the red Mac with the dump box on it. I do have I modified the trailer. Well, I cut it. I didn't modify it. Pedro at RCCH Hobby there, he made some parts that I 3D printed and I put onto the front of it. So I got a triaxle I can tow behind my dump truck, which is a fun setup. But I thought, why not have like the trailer, and maybe I might try and stretch out the trailer, and if I can get my hands on one. So I'm trying to slowly look at sourcing one of those down if I can locally for like really cheap. But if I can't, I'm gonna have to order one from Brooder's website there, and it takes like a long time. I really wish they'd actually have some more shipping options to get stuff up, because it's like 4 to 10 weeks delivery, no tracking. It's cheap, but you're waiting for it, right? So if you ever want to do anything in a reasonable amount of time, you need to kind of get ahead on ordering that kind of stuff. And it's about, I think it was about 46 bucks with shipping Canadian to my house. So it's great when it gets here, but it's it's a bit of a wait for it. I've had stuff from California from here for like 3 days from Canada to the States, but when it goes backwards, it seems to be, I don't know, it's weird. I don't understand the mail system. Anyways, back on track here. So yeah, this is the Mac 6x6 I did. It's the parts I used and designed for the front end, and then I did a bit of a design myself on the back as well. I just try to make it so when I do these conversions, really just try to make it as easy as possible to mount everything, so everything can be mounted from the sides. I did one a little while back, and it was a great design. Everything was awesome because I sure as shit didn't come up with anything, and the thing that I came up with now was inspired from that, right? So it's always easy to take from an idea, but it's not always the easiest to come up with something 100% from scratch. So I got to give prop for that. Dylan, who designed his, he thought the whole thing through, and then I kind of took a tweak on that from mine. The only issue I didn't really like with it was I had a really hard time trying to mount stuff in between the frames, unless I was just doing it wrong, maybe. But I just thought, if I can try and design everything so that it's really easy to just drop the whole assembly, and I'm going to try that. So that's kind of what I was going for with it, and that was the intention in mind I had behind my design for how I did my 6x6. And then the front end, I just did a whole design for it because I was finding that although I liked the 6x4, I just felt that the front end, if it was powered, just would have that little extra oomph to it, And initially too, I was thinking about building and selling them. And so I always kind of was trying to iron everything out and thought, from a customer point of view, if I'm going to sell something and I want a fair bit of money for it, I expect it to do, some things for that money, right? So I thought, okay, well, I'll power a front end on it. And it's a huge difference. Like, it's super awesome. And the first time I tried it out, the red one I did as a 6x6, I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. And so I bought 4 motors, and I'm going to eventually do the MAN truck. I'm going to put a front end on that as well, a powered front end on that as well. Not in a rush right now, but I will do that at some point. So I have this one here. It's actually all ready to go. I had an ESC upstairs, which it was in my excavator, and I was having some issues a little while back with my excavator on just power and whatnot. I hadn't wired anything incorrectly. What it ended up being was that I was using a battery that just didn't have a very big milliamp hour rating in it, so it was not lasting very long. And then coupled with my stupidity, which was just those little alarms that you put on the battery, I had no idea you could actually set those down. And I knew that there's like 3.2 volts to cell, and it kept on alarming at like 3.5. So I should have been like, hey, something's up there. But I never bothered to really do anything about it. And then I went and talked to the guy at the hobby shop, and he's great. He's a super old school guy who will definitely tell you if you're being an idiot. He told me I was being an idiot and showed me how to change that. So that changed all that around. And I ended up taking the ESC that I had in that excavator out, which was a Hobbywing 1060, which was perfect for this. And I replaced that with like the small little ESCs everybody knows about now, the little 20 amp, 30 amp ones, no brake ones. And so I put the 1060 in here, which was able to get this thing rolling, which I was super happy about. And yeah, so I spent a bit of time putting it together and turning it into an RC. And I had at one point, I was thinking, like I've done a couple of bulldozers and sold them, and I did a 3D printed nice design for those, and I like them, and I think they're a good product, and I'm really happy with them. And I thought, the Mack truck is like when I redid the back end on it, I thought, I might have something here that's worthwhile selling as well. And because I like to make things nice and consistent, I want to replicate something if I'm going to do it the same every single time. And I was able to do that for my Mack. Like my Mack red dump truck and this one are the same. The red Mack has a couple of little extra holes in the chassis of it drilled because that was the first one I did. So there's some things that are a little bit kind of, oops, wrong spot for the hole there. But this one I was able to iron everything out and keep it really nice and clean. And I thought, oh, maybe I'll just build it and sell it. And so I came up with like like I said, like a pretty consistent, the same design over and over again. But the one thing, if you remember what I said at the start of this little clip of the Mack truck, was that I pulled this thing out of the toy box because it was used, and I was going to convert it and sell it, and I would have reflected the used portion and the price of it. But then once I started going through it, I didn't realize at the time, like, things that had happened to it whilst my children had it. So like this got cracked, so it's not straight. So that, there's the little things I don't want to sell something as it's quote unquote new, and it's looks like it's my son is trying to eat it. And then the stack here, I had to put a little zap strap on there because it was opened up and there's a bit of a hole in the back there. So just those things to me, I'm like, you know, I don't really want to try and explain to somebody why I'm trying to sell this thing as like a new conversion, and it looks like it's been chomped on. So anyways, I just decided, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to hang on to it because I like it and I'd like to have it in my collection anyways. It'd be cool to have. I really would like to try and do a low loader trailer stretch out conversion. I think that those look really nice, and so I'm going to hang on to it. And as far as it goes for like building and selling anyways, like I don't really think I'm going to go too much further down that avenue. You know, it's just it's not that I don't think I do a nice job and all that. I just you know, I find, first of all, to try and get all the parts I need together, that's an expense in itself, and blah 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 blah. Then wait times, mail times. You know, if there's an issue, I hate dealing with shit like that. God damn, I hate it. No offense to anybody at all. It's just, you know, trying to solve electrical problems online when someone lives really, really far away from you. It's just a pain in the ass, I think. You know, I haven't had really too many issues with stuff like that, but shit happens, right? Things can kind of go a little bit south sometimes, and then you don't know sometimes who you're dealing with and all that kind of stuff too. And so I was really kind of hoping to try and keep it a local business if I was going to do that, just a small little thing on the side for fun. But then again, out here where I live, it just doesn't really seem like there's much of a market for it. And if there is, people don't understand why you want to charge like basically pretty much like, yeah, around about like $700 to $800 Canadian for a truck, when they expect it to be something that should only cost them $150. But $150 to $200 doesn't even cover all the parts I have in this thing. So, you know, yeah, you get into that. I'm not going into those things. I just don't have the patience to explain it. It is what it is. If you want something that bad, I think you'd understand it. And if not, well, then, you know, you can always try and learn how to build your own. And that's fine and fair too. So yeah, here's the Mac. It's all good to go. I did some tests with it yesterday and it's running great and I'm super happy with that. So yeah, that's that one here. I suppose I can just do a little bit of a upside down flip on it here and see if I can flip this upside down with the cab coming off of it, because it's just sitting over here. I'm gonna put this down. Okie dokie. So here's a shot that I don't usually show. Try to kind of not let the cat out of the bag sometimes with certain things, but fuck it, you know, whatever. Open learning, open sharing. People have helped me, so you know, maybe it helps you to come up with your own modified design on something, or you know, have fun. Anyway, so yeah, this is the front end on it that I did. I just made some little brackets. They're like little 90-degree L-shaped brackets that hold the servo in place, and then they get bolted in from the side there. That locks that into its position. You know, it's pretty straightforward design, really. I tried to keep it as simple as I can. I didn't want to necessarily overcomplicate it too much. A lot of things I use are like parts that come from like servos and stuff, like those little brass bushings in there to help the screw, you know, not get hung up when it's turning, all that kind of stuff. You know, the classic 3/8 nut tapped M4 wheel to lock it in place. I was having some issues with my Red Mac. The only thing I had that was giving me a little bit of grief with the Red Mac was that sometimes I was finding that if I was driving over a rocky surface or something, the wheels would articulate and maybe something would pinch and it would knock one of the wires off. So I remember talking to my dad, and he said, oh, what we used to do sometimes was you take a nail and you can coil the wire over the nail and try and get it to, you know, just get up a little bit of like slack in that coil there. So I did that, and it didn't really go as planned. That's kind of why everything looks a little bit kind of bent there. But so far I haven't had any issues with it. I gave it a good little test the other day and it was working nicely. So there's that. I mean, I use things like, you know, links that come from like WPL kits. Like that's just a little 2.5 mil screw that I cut down to size to fit. You know, sometimes you just gotta kind of figure it out, right? And just look at what you got. I made little spacers to keep the tie rod down so that the motors can turn, you know, that kind of stuff, right? Just one thing I just thought was kind of funny, I did realize on this, was I could probably actually knock one of these off from the design. I just kind of copied them and I never bothered to take that off, but I don't really need to have that on there. That being said, when I did it upside down, so I did it opposite of how I did the other one. So on my other Mac conversion, I actually have the tie rod going onto that side, so on the Mac, I could actually have taken that one off. Blah, 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 whatever. You know, it just articulates there, moves around. I put some beefier springs on the front, beefier than the ones that are on the back, because I was finding when I first did it, I would load the truck, and then because the springs were so loose, really, it would just tip at one side or the other, and then you know, you have a truck that's kind of sitting, listing on a side as you're driving, and it could be better, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I put some big fat honking beefy springs in the front. The ones that I got in the rear they're a bit looser, but the ones in the front certainly compensate for that, and it helps out overall. And then yeah, in the back I just made this like complete independent rear suspension that really it's held in place by two screws, one there and one there on this little piece that I came up with. And then I think, I can't remember if this is like a 6/32 rod or something like that I made, and it threads. I made it so the holes can thread through. I think I looked at like what a tap size was for that, so the hole through the 3D printed piece I made, so it can thread all the way through there, and then you can clamp the motors around. I have some holes that I didn't knock out on the bottom, which I did on the Mac. I took out, but they were for depending on which side because when I designed it, I just mirrored the piece, and then it keeps everything the same. So I could actually seal off the bottom ones altogether, and then there would be no hole there whatsoever. But just little details I haven't got around to yet. And then yeah, so it just sits like, if I turn it sideways, maybe you can see, kind of see that there's the screw right there. I just use on the Mac mold, they have like the mold itself is just basically circular pieces, and I just use that circular piece as a reference, and then I dead center a hole through that with my drill, and then I put some bushings in on that too, so it can articulate this way, and then also you get the you know, side to side. The one thing I wouldn't mind actually, and I do notice, is that although like when I'm pushing it right now, it looks like it's moving pretty good, but I'd like it if I could get just a wee bit more on that, just so when I'm going over some rocks and stuff, it just kind of contour that a little bit more. And the only reason for that is that, you know, when the wheels kind of come off the ground and you're trying to make videos that look kind of neat, you know, all of a sudden you have the one back tire is just ripping and the other one's on the ground crawling, so just kind of helps to make it look a little bit more scale. But not a big deal. I think it might be the little suspension pieces that I made on the top might be touching the other receiving pieces that take the suspension spring on the other side of it. So I don't know if I can really show you, because I got the trailer hitch covering it right now, but I do get a good full bit of roll on that for sure, and it does move this way as well, which is nice. I don't know if that'll come off. Well, maybe it will. I don't think I snapped it. Hang on a second. Yeah, just coming up nicely, except for that last bit there. There we go. Whew, thanks I didn't snap that. There, maybe you can see a little bit better there. So there's some springs up there. I just made these pieces that fit through the holes that are naturally in the mold of the product itself. And then the springs, that you can see it kind of the best there. I have, I made the little motor holder pieces, and then I just made these other pieces that bolt on the top of that, and they have these little tits that stick up, and the spring sits in that on this bottom piece. And then in there I have those pieces are just square pieces that come down with like a little circular piece on the bottom of them, and then they receive the spring on the top of that. So everything is just nice and easily screwed in from the side. There's no having to try and fit a screw in through, which I was just never very good at that. Maybe I was just doing something wrong on that. And then also too, I just also have it so that you know, for whatever reason, if you need to take anything out, it just can be easily unclipped from there. and you can drop the whole piece out, separate it from the rest of the electronics, and you don't have to cut and heat shrink and all that kind of stuff. I think some guys like to do keep it solid wiring all the way through and fucking right on. I like to be able to pull stuff out as a whole unit if I have to. So sometimes I like things like couplings and plugs like that, just to help facilitate dropping it out a bit easier if I ever have an issue. And the only other thing I noticed about the PLA, and this is kind of another reason why I'm like a little bit kind of about selling them, is that like if you look in here, I didn't notice at the time. See that right there? That's split right there, and I think it's because I just over tightened it. But sometimes I find with PLA, over time it seems like it kind of does get a little bit brittle. Now, for everybody that I've built something for, like I've ever done, the PLA parts that I've built for you they're going to be good. Like they're not stress bearing pieces. They'll be tight, and you should be totally fine on that. So I wouldn't be concerned about that. And like I will say to everybody before, if there is ever an issue, you can always get at me, and I'm more than happy to help because I want to give some good customer service. But yeah, so I did notice that split there. So I am going to have to take that off at some point and just put a new one. Then I have some other pieces I printed upstairs, and I can just easily put that on, and it should be good. The other thing I have definitely seen people do is the metal tubing, and then put the motors in there, and then screw the motors in place through the tubing and lock that in that way. So that could be another option. And it's metal, it adds a little bit more weight. Although this thing's actually fairly heavy. I don't have it the same as the Mac. Because the Mac, I have this big fat slug of lead weight on the front. But this one here, I kind of regret putting all those in because those were actually supposed to be for weighting down my dozers. But I'm not really probably going to be doing too many more dozer builds, I think, anyways. Hopefully maybe one or two more if the situation arises, but nothing on the horizon. So that'll be that. So that weighs that down in the front, which is good for it. And yeah, that's pretty much the Mac Attack there. It's all powered with I got the Deans there, and it's all powered with the 3S LiPo. Yeah, and so that works out pretty good. I got a 1300 milliamp LiPo that I use for powering them, and I'm happy with that. It's good power for it. Okay, that's that one. And I got another one, and I brought another thing downstairs too. I'm going to show you before I show my last build that I've been working on. So yeah, there's the Mac, looking good. Well, the one that started it all, probably could say for me at least. This is the very first Huina that I ever bought, and it has parts now from other things on here as well. But like the cab, I think I painted up from, so I can't remember now. Honestly, I don't know. There's a couple of things I'm still missing to get it fully going, but I pretty much kind of mostly have everything I need. The last thing there's two things I need, well, no, three or four things I guess I need for this. I need a transmitter receiver, I need tracks, and I need 6 ESCs. So there's a couple bucks I still need to put together before I get this thing going, but I will probably piggyback it off of another transmitter, so I just need a receiver, so that'll save me some money there. The tracks, there's not really too much I can do about getting around those. Those are expensive. It's going to cost me about $100 to get those here. And then what was the other thing I needed for it? I can't remember. Totally drawn a blank. Oh, ESCs. Yeah, I gotta get those. Anyways, whatever. So I had this thing sitting in a box, and I decided it was finally time to see if I could actually get it going. When it first went on me like ages ago, probably quite a long time ago, no idea to fix it at all. Looked at the thing, opened it up, scared the shit out of me, closed it back up, and said, well, that sucks. I don't know how to fix it. So I had it in a box, and then my dad had one because me and my sister bought my dad one for his birthday, and he let me borrow his for a little bit just to play around and make some videos. And then finally, like, you know, just because of not knowing what I was doing at all, I just decided I was going to buy a whole new one because I really wanted an excavator anyways. So I bought another one, and then this thing sat on the shelf, and then so I ended up with the V4, which I've had upstairs now. That was the one I painted way back, tried to make it look like the Cat 320, all that stuff. And then I had issues with the track breaking on it pretty freshly out of the box. It turned ugly, no good. Ended up getting it going, and so that one works. Then I got the Volvo Double E, which was also an ugly experience. Got that one going as well. And so I have this excavator, which is not fully ready to run yet. I have a Huina, which is working upstairs. I have a Double E Volvo, which is now working upstairs. And I have my little mini Shafe, which I've built, which has been working fine for me upstairs. And then I also have a crane, which I purchased, which I don't really ever do much with. Because honestly, when I bought it, I tried it out and it was like, wow, this is really quite jerky. And like, I know that this is kind of like geared to be to adults and children, but that one's kind of feels like it's a bit more geared towards children. So I just left it upstairs for my son to play with. It runs, but I don't really ever do much with it. And so, yeah, I have this guy, which I very much would like to get up and running. So I went through and I decided to try and put together and reclaim as much things I could as I had laying around and see what I was left over with that I needed to get for it. And so it turned out that I ended up needing this stuff for it, which is, like I said, everything minus the tracks and the ESCs. Empty. So I needed to get a new slip ring for it because during my early stages of the Shafe build, I opened up the Huina to see how they made their machines move around without tangling wires, and this thing came out. I didn't know what it was or anything at the time, and I cut the mounting bracket off to make it fit in the Shafe. So yeah, one of those things you do. And I never ended up using that one anyways. It was too big, so I ended up getting a smaller one, I think, to make it fit. And then I ended up with the slip ring, but I had no way of mounting it to anything. So I ended up needing to buy a new slip ring because I needed the ring to screw this to the model itself. So I have a new slip ring for it, which is great, and I have the old one. Plus, I have like a 6-wire slip ring for anything I want to do in the future. I might even be able to use a 6-wire slip ring if I ever put like a grade blade on this or something, which I probably will not do. But I'm gonna have 3 excavators. Well, it'll be 4 excavators plus a crane by the time it's all said and done, and it'll be good for the kids because the kids will be able to take these ones and play around with them. So that was one thing I needed, and then I also needed a new gear because another super smart thing I did was I cut the gear in half at the time when I was taking the slip ring out. Not because I thought I needed to cut it in half to get the slip ring off, just I didn't ever think I was going to need that part. So I cut it in half, and I wish I hadn't because, again, I would have saved myself some money, but, well, whatever, that's learning. I was cutting it up for learning, so, give me some slack there. And then also, too, because I pulled this little guy out of this model to put into my V4, I needed to replace this drive gear. And so when I had my issues with the V4 breaking, it was because this piece snapped on it. And I still firmly believe, although I do think that Huina would deny it till they're blue in the face, of course, that the spring that they have on this model is so much force that it was pulling against. It wasn't necessarily that it was pulling against that. It was just that at the time I was only using it. I had it like a bunch of potting soil, and I was turning it in that potting soil. And I think it was like the combined force of the tracks like trying to turn in that soil, and then the cheap shoddy, the cheap pot metal that they use. And then the spring all kind of came together and just went snap, and it snapped that right off, and that's what caused the track to fail. So I still actually have that in there. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's kind of hard to tell, but kind of see a bit. I think that's still in there, isn't it? Yeah, maybe it is. Anyways, I got to take this apart, pull that out, then I can put this gear into there, and then bolt the track onto it, which is somewhere in here. I have it somewhere around. And then I can get that will be running, and then I just need to get tracks for it, and then I got to do all the wiring. So I was playing around to try and get some boom motors going, because ages ago I ordered spare parts for the V4 to try and fix it, and I don't know why, I just didn't know at the time, right? It's when sometimes you just don't know, you just don't know. So I was learning, and I never figured it out, so I put the parts back in the spare bin, and I had them sitting there forever. And then finally, now I was like, oh shit, I can use all that stuff. So I took it apart, I put it back together, and I haven't done it yet with the limit switches in it, but I just ran wiring to these motors to get them functioning again, and it does work. Right here, that was kind of an unfortunate thing, I guess, for whatever reason. I cut and hacked. I was probably trying to make an actuator, I think, at one point. So I ended up, unfortunately, cutting this piece off. But I think I might try and do is like maybe 3D print a little piece to fit over that, just to detail that again. And then that'll take care of that, hide the thread. And then also I'm going to run limit switches from these motors, and I'm going to run them down in here, and I'm going to notch out with my drill, or my little drum, I'm going to cut the openings for the levers to sit in, so they can be touched by these things when the boom curls in and out, and then that'll be the limit switch set up for that. I have upstairs, I bought quite a while back, a bunch of diodes and a bunch of limit switches, and I've had them sitting upstairs in my parts bin forever, and there's nothing wrong with them, and they're definitely ready to be used. So I'm going to do a big fat cleanup on that and get this thing with the limit switches back together again, because I have done a limit switch setup in the past in my track loader, which worked great, and it was a really fun experience to learn how to do it. So I'd like to try and do something again that has limit switches in it. I think it's something that's cool to do. I enjoy learning how to make sure that I have the diodes facing the right way and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna look forward to doing that when the time comes. But I will be some stuff I still need to get, but I don't need the tracks to obviously do that. But I would like to just kind of have everything all here ready to go when the time comes for me to put this thing back together again. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that right now. I just opened this up a little while ago when I was trying to figure out what I needed to do for everything, and I just resoldered on a bunch of JST connectors for the motors to test everything out, just make sure everything was running properly at the time, and it is. And then I just got all my my wires here all coiled up, ready to go for when I do run my ESCs into there. I can just get all that tidied up, and I'll put new speed controllers on all the wiring for that, and then new receiver in here. Limit switches will go in, get this thing back up and running again, and yeah, I'll have something fun for the kids to be able to play with when we're out in the back. And yeah, it's kind of funny. I have a little bit of track left over, but it's not going to be quite enough. I took these apart and I used them for my track loader. I had thought that I could take the metal tracks off the track loader again and then put them back on this Huina, and then put plastic ones back on the Brooder, and that would probably certainly save me some money. However, I don't want to take the metal tracks off my track loader. I like the metal tracks on it, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to make myself have to pay $100, and that's how that's going to go. So that'll be that. So yeah, that's pretty much kind of it for this one, I think. It would be fun to try and maybe play around with some things, and I just kind of wanted to maybe try and give it a bit of a different appearance. Not just kind of give it like a different paint job, but like I've got a 3D printer upstairs, and it would be kind of fun to try and do like maybe a bit more of like a 120. I don't know if this thing's like 120 or 118. I certainly don't think it's 116, and I definitely don't think it's 114. So it's probably somewhere around the lines of like maybe a 118, maybe possibly like a 120 or something. But it'd be cool to try and make it look like a newer 118 scale, 120 scale excavator. The one thing that's I noticed about them, which would be kind of neat to do is the Volvo. It's just the way the tracks are done on it, like because I think the sprockets are small. You know, the tracks kind of, they come up off the ground and they lift off the ground, but the ones on the Volvo, they just, like, as soon as they come around, they're like already touching. And that's the one thing I always think it kind of gives it, I'm not pricking it apart here or anything like that, just one of those little things that kind of gives it that appearance. I mean, I certainly didn't freaking design an excavator from scratch and make it out of metal, so who am I to talk? But it'd be cool if I could, like, almost like put like an undercarriage on it from like a different model maybe, and then just to give the tracks a little bit more of that kind of look. But I've seen so many cool things done with these things. Like, I've seen, there's a fellow, I think it's Dutch RC construction channel, and he's awesome. I love watching that guy's builds. He builds super cool stuff. And he always has like a really good look on his machines when he's done them. So, you know, there's definitely the ability to do stuff. I mean, there's a guy I haven't seen forever now. I believe his name is Antonio, and he made a wheeled excavator out of Huina, and it was friggin' awesome. That guy built some crazy stuff. And so, you know, there's definitely potential to do certain things with it, but we'll see. I might just end up just going for the stock look on it. Maybe play around with some 3D printing stuff. It would be kind of cool to give it like the higher looking back piece, you know, to make it look like a little bit more of a more modern excavator. But it'll be one for the kids to play with, and I don't think they're going to care about stuff like that. So yeah, it'll be a fun project to do down the road and get up and running again. And so that's the old Huina. I think this was a V. I don't remember which one this was. Some guys will know. I don't remember which. I think the lights were usually kind of a giveaway on it. I thought I had a V2. And maybe this is a V2. I'm not sure. I think the V3 was like the yellow cased lights. And there were some other things that were kind of a giveaway on it. But either way, that's the excavator. And I got one more thing to show after this, which is kind of a fun one, which I've never done before. And it's not a crazy build, but it will be a fun build to have for sure. So I'm looking forward to showing you what that last one is I've got on my bench. Ta-da! Well, there it is. The last thing that I could say is, what the hell is on my bench? Forklift. Never ever done a forklift. And I wanted to buy one of those Carson ones, but price tag, can't do it. Can't afford it. So I thought, well, I guess I'm just gonna have to do what I've done in the past and build one if I want it. So I have the Bruder forklift, which is a pretty cool looking little model. I have no idea how to get it apart. I do have a couple loose ideas of what I was going to try and do to make it function. And one thing that I'm kind of wondering about how I'm going to do is this tilt back and forth. That I am not sure yet. But I do have, and I have had for quite some time, I've got an Actuonics, it's like a PQ-12, I believe. And I'm not sure if it's the right fit for it or not, but it's got a little piston arm on it that might hide well. I don't know if I can try and tuck it in on there. It might not be the right spot for it. It might work better served if I can try and possibly put a little armature on this somehow and hide it underneath there. Maybe I can make that move back and forth, because I think that I am going to want to have that tilting. I was thinking about, I'll just leave it, lock it in like that, but I don't know, for some reason I get this feeling I need that little function to work. So that's going to be one thing I find is going to be maybe challenging. I think it's going to be kind of challenging also to do the lifting of it, because I know, I can just tell right away, I'm going to lose that opening is going to be gone. Somehow this is going to be what's going to make it work. And I think it's going to end up having to sit like that, possibly. I don't know yet. This one, if I do start it, when I start it, I will start it, is going to end up being something that I'm going to put together as much as I can, and then it's probably going to end up sitting there for a while before I get like another receiver to get it all up and running. I think, excuse me, sorry, lazy day today. I think it's just going to end up being like probably just going to end up being front wheel powered only, because it's just a forklift. It doesn't have to do anything super crazy. And then it'll just have a steering servo on the back there, obviously, to turn the wheels. I gunned my first build I ever actually got rid of because I was so tired of trying to figure it out, and it was my tracked skid steer with the poppy tracks. I just couldn't ever get past it. I tried to smooth them out, never worked. So I ended up disassembling it, and I have parts left over from that. And I've got two high-tech 85 mg servos, which are fantastic servos to have. So I'm not sure if I'm going to put servos in the front of this thing, if I can fit them in there, and power this thing with two high-tech servos, or if I'm just going to use little geared motors, which I might do, and then I might save those high-techs for something else. And then, yeah, I'm going to put a steering servo on the back, and away she goes. So that'll be that.